This week on the podcast, are you finding your cash flow difficult? Well, we discuss the only 3 ways to fund your business growth. Welcome to the Profit Cash Growth Podcast. This is the podcast for 6 and 7 figure business owners who are looking to grow a financially successful business. My co-host, Claire Hancott, is a finance director, chartered accountant and entrepreneur. And every week, I'll be exploring guidance and frameworks designed to help you increase your profits, improve your cash flow and grow your business. So this week, Claire, we are going to be talking about the only 3 ways to fund your business growth, aren't we?
We are. Or the only 3 ways to fund a business, really.
Full stop. And why are we going to be talking about that?
I don't know. Why are we?
I don't know either.
No.
Because we just chose to, didn't we?
We did. No, it's cash flow, isn't it? Cash flow, definitely we're seeing an increase in businesses talking to us about concerns about cash flow at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, I think that several of the businesses that we talk to that are not normally seasonal businesses, but typically there is always a bit of a downturn around Christmas and the summer holidays, just because naturally people take a bit. I feel like I'm in the Diet Coke advert now. Someone's just opened a can right in front of me. I'm a bit distracted. I'm getting all flushed here. Right, what are businesses talking to you about? They get quiet normally in the school holidays and normally around Christmas, because most people, even if you're not a seasonal business, you tend to just take your foot off the gas a little bit. And businesses are getting concerned about their ability to weather that this year and whether it's going to get better out the other side, particularly into next year, 2026, whether there is going to be a significant economic downturn or not. So,
I mean, you've missed the biggest reason that people have seen downturn.
Don't want to say it.
What's
Don't
this like?
Swear at me.
What is this? What?
You're going to say her name, aren't you?
No, it's just like this constant, like, this is the worst November I've ever felt in my entire life. I mean, talk about like a destroyed, I don't know what other people are feeling in their business. Mine has just stopped. I mean, she has literally destroyed the housing market.
Estate agency.
She's literally destroyed the housing market. What has happened? So, yeah, we do need ideas for how we get through cash flow pinches, because
that's what I'm talking about.
This is just wild what she's done. And she's fucked the year up as well, because it won't bounce back in December, will it now? Because it's December. So
yeah, it never bounces
we're now
back
kicking
in December.
back into next year. And yeah, just what a way to own goal your own economy. Great. All right, let's move on to this week's news story of the week. Oh, before I do, Claire, I was going to ask you this. I saw this in a Zero, the accounting software poll, that, because they survey businesses all the time. Did you know that 38% of small businesses are not even sure if they were profitable last month?
I'm not surprised. I am always, still to this day, astounded when businesses come to us. Businesses that are turning over £1 million plus that don't know how much money they make on a monthly basis, because they just never get to the point where they can get accurate numbers out of the system, because they don't have an appropriately skilled finance team is essentially what the issue is, or they're not paying an external accountant enough to do it regularly and monthly for them.
I don't even understand, like, psychologically how, as a business owner, you could not like just have like a burning desire. Like, you're in business, don't you have a burning desire just to like want to know whether what you're doing is right and like you're actually making money and all the rest of it? Like, how can you just
But it's the connection between profit and cash that isn't really there and properly understood by a lot of business owners. They're focusing mostly on what is in the bank, if there's enough money in the bank every month to pay them, because there can be months where they make profit but there's no cash in the bank.
Yeah.
And vice versa, there could be months where they think that they've had a bad month but there's lots of cash in the bank. And so for a business owner, most of the time they're concerned of, can they pay themselves? Can they get money out of their business to pay themselves? And therefore they're focusing on the bank balance too much. But ultimately it's the profit that will drive that bank balance. If the profit isn't there, then ultimately your cash is going to decline eventually. So it is really, really important to be looking at your management accounts on a monthly basis.
Well, there's one news story of the week. The other news story of the week that caught my eye this week
actually you're going to talk about.
Is British Airways is to offer free Wi-Fi from its planes, which is not in itself a news story because they kind of already offer it, but they can offer it via Elon Musk's Starlink. So they're promising connectivity twice the speed of your in-home broadband on board an aircraft for British Airways now. And this is coming next year. So this is really, really cool stuff. What immediately smacked me, though, in the face quite hard is the fact that, do you remember we were on the train coming up from Birmingham?
Oh, diabolical.
Yeah.
Absolutely shocking. The busiest train line in the UK, isn't it, is what's the route called?
The West Coast Main Line.
Yeah, the West Coast Main Line.
Manchester, Birmingham, through to Euston. Yeah.
Eventually it goes all the way up to Scotland, doesn't it? Busiest train line in the UK, and I'd say north of probably Northampton, no internet at all. We were probably okay, Milton Keynes, Northampton, and then it just was absolutely diabolical to the point where you couldn't even like read an email or something on your phone.
It's just wild how backwards today's world is, that we are, in a place where we prioritise, putting it on board an aeroplane in the air over a train. Now, because I used to work in this industry, I actually know why that is and the challenges with that. And actually, it is actually, believe it or not, far easier to put something that connects to a satellite in an aeroplane because it's in the air and the signal's so much better versus a really fast-moving train that's moving on the ground. It's
a cost thing because the aeroplane's moving far quicker and the aeroplane can connect to the satellites. There's no reason why the train also couldn't use Starlink. It's a cost thing, isn't it? And the train companies are not prepared to pay it.
I'm sure fundamentally it's that, yeah.
What I always find really staggering is that we see news stories like this, and I think in a lot of countries, if they saw that British Airways was offering this, they probably would be almost like, oh, I can't believe I don't have it already. Because we went on a Havila cruise in Norway, didn't we? And it was a small boat cruise, so we were probably never, actually most of the time we were inside the fjords, we were actually never at sea. And the whole entire trip, other than we were there for 11 days, and it was only the last probably 48 hours when we were right at the most northern point of Norway, literally in the arse end of nowhere of the world, Europe, where we didn't have 5G signal.
This wasn't Wi-Fi on the ship. This is just our normal phone signal, a normal Wi-Fi. 5G phone signal.
Literally in the arse end of nowhere. So it's like the equivalent of being in the Hebrides in Scotland, but we had clear 5G signal the whole time. So for the rest of the world, they're probably looking and thinking this is not a big news story, but for the UK, for a British company,
I think it is a big news story because the other air, they're doing it to try and get a competitive edge on all of the other airlines. They're naming them here, Air France and the German guys and everybody else. Yeah, Lufthansa, that's it. KLM, and obviously Ryanair and EasyJet, because they're not going to have it. So actually, it probably is quite breaking. And I'm pleased, actually, because it's unlike British Airways to be leading the way with anything aviation.
That is very true.
So just don't do it nowadays.
But are they trying to go back to their core customer roots? Because BA has been known for decades for being the travel for businesses, hasn't it? Like business people would get on British Airways. It's very much geared to them. The flight times, the fact that they fly mostly out of London Heathrow. They've got the business class offering that EasyJet and Ryanair, etc., don't have. But they lost that differentiation for sure.
Yes.
As a business person, I would actually prefer to fly Ryanair and EasyJet because the flight times were better 9 times out of 10.
And that's what I love about it. I love the fact that they are clearly saying this will be free. They're not trying to charge for this. It's going to be free on BA, it's going to be free on Iberia, and it's going to be free on Aer Lingus. So they're all of the airlines that they own, IAG own, they're going to be free on all of them. They're only going to charge a small charge on their budget ones, which is Iberia Express and Vueling. They're the only two. But all the national carriers that they own, they're going to offer it for free, which is that does start to become a bit of a differentiator in this world, especially if you're a business traveller, a true business traveller, you want to sit for 8-9 hours, you want to go to Australia, and you can get
a bit longer, 8-9 hours.
No, I know. I didn't mean that.
Dubai.
I had my head in Dubai, and then I was like, we'll stop in Dubai, and then we'll carry on to Singapore, and then we'll carry on to Australia. No, we'll add some time to it. No, we won't. Yeah, so, I think it's cool. Well done, BA, for finally waking up, because they've been a bit of a joke of an airline over the years.
What I can't wait to see is Starlink is becoming more and more mainstream. As a standalone home, as a business, you can get Starlink at the moment, but the cost is generally a bit prohibitive. But the more mainstream this becomes, the more likely we are to just be offered Starlink at home, like you get Virgin or Sky or TalkTalk or whatever it is. And that is going to be game changing, because that does away with this whole bloody issue of digging up roads and having to refresh cabling and all of that kind of malarkey that the country seems to be going through at the moment to install 5G networking and fibre cabling and stuff. Seems completely backwards when we can just beam it from the sky.
Yeah, it's certainly theoretically the most obvious thing for the future, is that the more people that use it, if they can bring the cost down, to it just ends up being the default way of connectivity around the world through satellites rather than through cable, which will be really
Let's
cool.
just hope that it isn't frying our brains like some people claim it is, because then we are screwed.
We started by saying that in the 90s about mobile phone signals, didn't we? Then we said that about Wi-Fi.
Brain tumours are increasing.
I mean, we've got that many radio waves and things flying through the air now, then if it was going to happen, it would have happened by now. And people are getting it. Well, maybe this is what the big mental health issue is, and the illness issue and everything.
Increasing
is that
cancer, highest rates ever. You never know.
Nobody's connected the dots yet.
Well,
on that, you, Claire. On that,
we're spreading a bit of
conspiracy.
Conspiracy there. So let's just quickly move on to
Come
our
on,
deep dive.
Let's move into the deep dive. So this week, Claire, we're going to talk about the only 3 ways to fund your business growth. Talk me through the key idea behind this?
Yeah, so this is about where cash is initially going to come into your business. And there's really only three ways, regardless of what business you are, there's only really three ways that you can fund it and where cash initiates from, let's say.
Yeah.
And those three ways are internal funding. So that's about the business generating its own cash flow over time. So you make profits, you convert it into cash, and you keep using that in your business. And that's generally referred to as bootstrapping. That's kind of quite a common phrase that our audience might know. And then the second one is debt. And, that's about borrowing. So that might be a loan. It might be you lending money to the business as the business owner, or it might be a bank lending you money, or a friend or family member lending you money. That loan can come from lots of different places.
Yeah.
And the third one is equity. And that is about essentially giving away or selling a portion of your business in exchange for some cash.
Yeah. So somebody's giving you effectively the profits of tomorrow today.
Yeah.
In exchange for, sharing those profits in the future.
Yeah. They're buying into they've got a slice of the pie, if you like.
Yeah.
So you've got three different ways. We've got bootstrapping, debt, and we've got equity. And what we're going to talk a little bit today about is where they fit in the business, the pros and cons of each one, and which ones are more appropriate depending on the circumstances that you're in.
Okay, cool. Great. So you're going to talk a bit about cash flow, aren't you?
Yeah. So I think before we jump into which one of those is right for you and your circumstances, we need to really understand what our cash flow issue is.
Yeah.
So we need money to come into the business for something, okay? And it might be to fund day-to-day operations, or it might be to grow the business. And those two are very different scenarios. And often business owners put cash flow into the same pot, and they're not the same things. If you're going to grow a business that doesn't have stable cash flow, you're going to grow a headache. So you absolutely need your day-to-day cash flow to be stable, to be consistent, to be reliable, and to be, most importantly, self-sustainable.
Self-funding. So
self-funding.
You wouldn't take any of these three funding routes to fund your day-to-day cash flow?
No.
Is this similar to the challenges that Rachel Reeves has, where she says she doesn't want to borrow to fund day-to-day spending, but she's happy borrowing
to
on
fund
capital?
Growth, 100%. Yeah, because when you're trying to grow your business, you're essentially saying, I need to spend £1 million now, whatever that number is. We'll just go with 1 million because it's easy to do. You're saying, I need to spend £1 million now, with the aim of having £5 million coming over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yep.
So all of your cash flow is loaded up front. So you expect there to be a gap. But with your general day-to-day business, there shouldn't be a gap.
Okay. Is this, so I can really break this down, is this similar to when I changed all of the lighting in the warehouse from sulfur lighting to LED lighting? It cost £20,000 to do, but it delivered £10,000 a year in savings in electricity.
Yes.
So exactly. I knew in 2 years it paid for itself, and then it was giving us a £10,000 a year benefit.
This is like, to put it in the most simplest of terms, this is like saying that your salary doesn't cover your shopping bill and doesn't cover your day-to-day expenditure that you have in your life.
You put it on Klarna.
And you put it on Klarna and you try and borrow to fund your day-to-day spending. And there's
good,
no way of getting out of that trap. That as your business gets bigger, as your personal spending gets bigger, then that debt gets bigger and you're just spiraling. There is no way to get out of that. And that's kind of the trap that Rachel Reeves is in at the moment. The difference is when you want to buy a house, you don't try and fund that house, you go and get a mortgage. You accept that that's a big purchase with some long-term benefits and you need funding for that. But your day-to-day funding, you need to be self-sufficient. Now, ultimately, there's two things that go into whether a business is self-sustaining. And the first one is profitability. If your margins are not correct and you're not profitable, you're going to have a cash flow issue. That's obvious. But there are also lots of profitable businesses that are not cash flow rich, and it's because of the model that they've gone with around payment terms mostly and things like that. So, classic one, estate agency. Your business, you generally will put a house on the market, and what's your average lead time to sell at the moment from something going on the market?
4 months, 3-4 months.
So that's 3
and
to
then 4 or 5 months to get paid.
Yeah. So what's that?
10 months.
9 to 10 months in total at the moment is the average lead time from getting a house listed to it actually being completed and you getting the money in your bank. So that's 9 to 10 months you've had to lay out for salaries before you've got any revenue coming in your business.
So the solicitor then pays you on time, give it another 2 weeks on top of that. And
so therein you can see that you're going to have a gap in your business. Another business that I work with is a business broker that we do the books for, and they've got a similar thing. They list a business, but they don't get paid until completion goes through.
Yeah.
So you then need to think about, okay, how can we bring in cash quicker? So it might be that you add different product ranges. It might be that you agree deposits up front. It might be that you agree a different structure. Maybe some people get a slightly reduced final completion price because they pay an amount up front or something like that. So when you have this long lead time, you need to start thinking about how you bring forward that cash as much as possible. Sure. And really, this is where the bootstrapping comes in. If you can't bootstrap your business, don't grow your business, because you're going to have a bloody headache for sure. Invoice financing is another one. People, often will use invoice financing, and I sit on the fence with that. There are certain circumstances where invoice financing is good, but again, you're just, as you get bigger and bigger, your invoice finance is just going to get bigger and bigger, and you're just going to build yourself up a headache. You really need to start looking at your business model. At the heart is not cash flow positive, and you wouldn't grow a business that wasn't profitable. So don't grow a business that isn't cash rich or isn't cash flow sustainable either.
So all you're doing is just scaling a problem.
The problem, yeah. So you really just need to go back to basics. Look at your model. Look at adding a different product range or a different service offering that just has slightly different cash flow terms that eases that pressure and would be game changing. Yeah. The most obvious thing to do is, if you're a business that's only selling B2B to other businesses, you add in something that sells B2C. That's classic. Like if you're an electrician or you work in like trades, we see this all the time. You work on these massive big projects that have got stage payments throughout, and really your payment terms get pushed out. Whereas when you're selling to consumers, normally consumers always pay up front. So it might not be as profitable, but generally that can help your cash flow. And that's where you've then got to start balancing profitability and cash flow.
Great.
So that's all about bootstrapping your business, and that is about day-to-day spending. We would expect that to be bootstrapped. We would expect your business to be cash flow sustainable.
Would there be any exemptions to that, or business models or types where you wouldn't expect that to be the case? The reason I ask that is that obviously, big venture capital backed businesses, that's not their model, isn't there? Their model is like profitability in 5, 8, 10 years. They put huge amounts of money up front. They don't know if the business model's right.
Look, I mean, I totally agree. The likes of Facebook, for example.
But we shouldn't be doing that at this
11
size.
years.
We shouldn't take examples from that world and extrapolate them to us, because it's not the world we operate in, is it?
It's not the world we operated in. And actually, the podcast we did last week was around this triangle of success, and it was about hard work, skill, and opportunity. And what I would say there is, these big businesses like Facebook, for example, the backing that had from day one, the opportunities and the doors that had opened almost meant that it was guaranteed to make a profit in the long run. So we don't have that in small businesses. We don't have those connections. We don't have that guaranteed return. And we don't have that certainty. So you just simply cannot take that risk. You cannot run your business at a loss in the hope that you're onto the one thing that's going to be big and make you millions. You need to, from day one, be setting out with the aim of making a profit.
I saw this last week. Somebody came in on Dragon's Den, and the woman was borderline just delusional. I mean, she basically went through her numbers, and for year after year, her number she'd lost nearly £1 million, which she'd put in herself. Just like, where are these? And she just kept saying, it's about to turn round, it's about to turn round. And the Dragons were just simply like, your business model is broken. Like, there's not enough margin in it. And she's like, there will be, because I'm getting my Google ads down. And she was just spending far too much. She just hadn't worked those metrics where her cost of acquisition was just insanely high, and this wasn't the margin in it.
Do you know where her problem was? Is because what she wasn't clear on is what was operational cash flow, your day-to-day stuff, and what was for growth. And she had convinced herself that marketing, pay-per-click, was growth money.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
It's not.
It's operational.
It's cyclical, because you spend it, it comes back in cash. Yeah, it's cyclical. Yeah.
So that's where she had gone wrong. If she had broken down her cash flow and said, what's operational cash flow, what's investment cash flow, she would have quickly realised. Yeah. But because she hadn't looked at it like that, she wasn't able to make that differentiation. And she's kidding herself that her day-to-day stuff is growing the business. And it's not. It's just finding customers, and that's never going to go away. Yeah. You're always going to need to find customers. Okay, so we've covered operating cash flow, and that's your day-to-day stuff. But now we've got the investment cash flow, which is the growth for fuel. So generally with this, we would say anything that is expected to have a payback of more than 12 months. generally. Okay. So, that classic example there where you're spending on pay-per-click ads to get customers, that's operating cash flow. That's your day-to-day stuff.
Yep.
Taking on a new employee, generally you would expect that payback within 12 months. So again, that's operating cash flow. Okay. So we're not talking about any business growth. We're talking about longer term business growth. So this would be, maybe making significant CapEx changes to your warehouse or to your office. It might be buying new equipment. It might be opening a new branch somewhere. All of these types of things that enable you to take your business to the next level.
Now, I know this isn't in here or part of this, but I just thought I'd ask this question because it's just out of interest. Do you, in your head, have like what a acceptable or medium risk number of years payback on a capital expenditure for a business would be?
3.
3. There is a number to that. I thought you were going to say it depends so much there's no number. You think...
Look, there is no number.
3 is a good...
There is no number.
No, of course there isn't.
Depending on the size of business.
Yeah.
But if you're just starting out and you're thinking about investing in something you're not going to get your money back for 3 years, that's too risky. If you're literally just starting out, you need to be thinking about getting your money back in 6 to 12 months time.
100% if starting out. I think I'm talking about established businesses.
Yeah. If you're at the point that we're talking about now, businesses around sort of like 1 to 10 million, which is typically our audience, then really you can be making these longer term investments, but any more than 3 years, and we're getting quite risky here because really, if you look at how much changes in 3 years, it's so much and it's so quick, the pace of change in businesses that sit in that 1 to 10 million stage.
So your concern is you may have invested in something that is now obsolete beyond that and you've got to start the investment again.
Not relevant for your business anymore, all of those types of things.
Okay.
But also, it's your ability to weather that storm for more than 3 years. And I'm not saying that you need to get payback in 3 years. I'm saying that you need to get to a point where that investment has probably broken even within 3 years.
Paid off.
Yeah. Well, not
so to speak, like the money's back. You got the money back.
It's not a black and white rule because there are certain circumstances where that is going to be completely different. I would say you need to be at a point in 3 years' time where you're comfortable that you've made the right decision.
Okay. Come on.
Okay, so we're talking about investment cash flow. And the only two ways really to fund investment cash flow, in my opinion, is from either debt, so borrowing to fund it. And that could be yourself as a personal individual lending money to your business, or it could be a bank or financial institution lending money, or you get equity. And people might be screaming at the podcast saying, well, I've bootstrapped everything in my business. I've just waited until I've had the cash in the bank to do it. But that generally isn't how you see rapid growth, because if you're constantly trying to save and wait until you've got the money in the bank, you're probably overly cautious and you're missing opportunities when they're coming up.
I'd agree with that. I think there's like a stair-step approach to this is the way I would describe it, in my view, whenever I've done businesses, which is I want to bootstrap to the point of like what they would call like product market fit. That type of thing. Once I hit product market fit, then I'm happy to take debt to scale that.
So
I want to be clear on product market fit.
When you say product market fit, you're saying like a proven model.
Yeah, I want to know the product or the service or whatever else is profitable. The model's profitable. Yeah. There's demand for it. Everything is now working. The process is operationally working and scalable. Once all of those things fit and are ready, then I'll take external finance because I've just completely de-risked that. Because all I'm doing is scaling what already works.
And for a lot of businesses, that happens to come around the £1 million mark, doesn't it? That's the reality. Roughly when you get to sort of
Is it money or is it time? Is it, I don't know.
I think it's a bit of both. The two tend to sit hand in hand. But there are a lot of businesses that for sure take on external debt more quickly than they need to. The amount of people that I have contact me that say, I'm looking to start a business and I'd like somebody to help with a business plan so I can get a loan. And firstly, they're not my clientele. I don't really work with startups. But secondly, I say, I am not helping you get yourself into debt before you've got a proven product, before you've got a minimum viable product that works in your marketplace, because you are literally getting a noose around your neck that at any moment is going to hang you. One false move and it'll hang you.
And that's what the woman in Dragon's Den we were just talking about did. She's throwing good money after bad when she's not at a point where she's got a product market fit situation going on here. So, I think... That would be my view on it anyway.
Now, there are, of course, some scenarios where, you know, if you've got a shit ton of experience in an industry and you're onto something that is almost like a guaranteed to succeed, et cetera, then of course that makes sense.
And also if the market's moving that fast, speed really matters, otherwise you miss the opportunity.
So this isn't like a blanket rule, but I would say in probably 80% of circumstances, you do not need financing to get a business off the ground, to get it going from a complete startup. But once you get to sort of 7 figures and above, you're going to find growth quite slow if you're not prepared to take a bit of risk and put something behind you.
But obviously different if you're buying an already established business and you're funding that through debt, because that's different.
Yeah, 100%.
That's already got the fit.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So the pros and cons of the two things. So firstly, I heavily sit on the side of never give up equity in your business unless it's a last resort, or there's got to be a really valuable reason why you would give up equity. So we're talking about debt. That is always the preferred way to grow your business, is just to go and get a loan from somewhere. So,
okay.
Sorry, I thought you were going to interject me then. So in terms of debt, the pros of having debt is that you stay 100% in control of your business. There's no external person wanting a say in how you run things, how you do things, wanting a share of the profits. Another benefit is that interest is tax deductible. So all of the fees and the interest that you pay to the bank, not the repayment of the loan, but the interest on it, which often when you take a loan, the interest is a fair chunk of what you're paying back every month anyway. That's all tax deductible and helps reduce your corporation tax bill as well. So there are some benefits to that. And also you have predictable monthly payments every month. Like generally when you take on a loan, most business loans are fixed interest rates. So you know exactly what you're paying every month and you can plan for that with some level of certainty.
Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
And also business loans are fairly easy to come by, particularly if you're investing in assets. You know, getting asset finance is one of the easiest loans to secure in a business because the loan is always secured against the asset. So from that perspective, it's seen as it's de-risked from the financial institution's perspective, and therefore it's fairly easy for businesses to get. Generally, they just ask for a couple of years worth of accounts. So as long as you show consistent profit in your accounts, you're not over leveraged with other forms of debt, then actually they're quite easy to secure.
Straightforward.
Yeah.
Expensive though, isn't it, at the moment?
Do you know what? I think you'd be
9% funding circle.
It entirely depends on your business's history, how long you've been going for. You know, the longer you've been going for, the more consistent profits you've got, then of course you can get better deals. But there are some businesses that are getting offered sort of 7-8% at the moment, and there's others that are a little bit more risky, around 12%.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in my opinion, debt should always come before equity because borrowing money from a loan only costs you interest.
Yeah.
Whereas if you intend to have an equity investor come into your business and they take a share of your business, they also get a share of your profits, normally forever.
Yeah.
There are some deals where you might agree a share buyback over time and things like that, but there's ultimately a cost to that as well. And it normally is a higher price to pay in the long term than getting debt. Yeah. And often people will get an equity investor because they think that it's less risky than going to a bank. So sometimes people will say, I'm going to get an investor in my business because they can share the risk with me, because they're scared to go and get a loan from a financial institution.
Or that they just like the cash flow today and they don't want the cash flow today being watered down.
Yeah, that's true as well, because
it's very difficult to suddenly look at, a loan coming out for a few grand every month that's eating up pretty much all your cash flow versus giving away some equity. It seems on paper at the beginning the easier option, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
But long term, not so much.
I mean, there are, like you've just kind of hit the nail on the head. Some of the pros of getting an equity investor is that there's no repayments. So you're not going to be repaying them on a monthly basis. So it sort of maintains that operating cash flow in your business on a day-to-day basis. But the biggest benefit of an investor is that they bring something into your business that you don't have already. So, on Dragon's Den, for sure, those dragons are coming with a shit ton of experience and connections that, almost like money can't buy.
Well, they're kind of filling this success triangle from last week, aren't they? Yeah. They're like fixing that for you in a lot of cases, as we said.
And that would kind of be the only reason why I would suggest getting an equity investor in your business, is if you truly believe that person...
They can open doors and change the business's trajectory.
Yeah,
I'd agree.
But if they're just going to come in and, I actually looked at buying an accountancy firm, and it was a guy that it was 3 people in the partnership at the moment, and 2 of them were looking to retire, leaving 1 person in the business. And when I did sort of the intro call with him, and I kind of said to him, why are you not like, what do you actually want from this? And he said, I just want somebody to come into the business. I don't want to be the only person working full time in the business at this level. I need somebody to come in and be a strategic leader with me. And I was like, but why are you not just recruiting somebody to do that job? Why are you trying to sell some of your business and bring in an equity partner when actually you just need somebody to come in and fulfill the position of MD?
Well, he didn't need an owner. What he needed was, an employee or an employee with some skin in the game, just like highly incentivized, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
But
an employee share scheme where if they leave, they forfeit their shares, if essentially give you some protection. There were so many other ways that could have been done, and the right route for that person was 100% not to sell that business.
And actually, you're not really, if you're looking for someone to work in the business, you're not really looking for an investor, because most true investors don't want to work in the business. They want an investment, which is why they're called an investor.
That was exactly the conversation that I had with him. I was like, look, I'm not looking for a job here. I'm looking to put my money somewhere and put a team in place to run it. And if you want to stay in the business, that's fine. If you want to be a part of that team, but I ain't coming to work every day.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm buying into this business for. And so I think he's going to find it incredibly difficult. I mean, this was quite a large accountancy firm as well, so I think they're going to find it incredibly difficult to sell it. But so there are some pros to working with an investor. The cons is that essentially you're giving away control of your business. No matter how small of a share you give away, that person will have some form of control over you long term. And
mentally and physically.
I've got a couple of customers that have minority shareholders in their business, and most of the conversations that I have with them are around how they can get those minority shareholders out.
Yeah, you just see it as a common pattern that all they want to do is get rid of them,
because they can see the future of the business being multi-millions in X amount of years' time, and they don't want these private investors that are literally doing nothing and contributing nothing on a day-to-day basis to have a slice of that pie. And they want to get those people out now, but they can't.
Yeah.
But
it's also not fair on the investor if you look at that, because that investor will have lost its money on 9 of those, and they will be the one that they've made the money on. So you can't really have that attitude to say, oh, well, they can't get the benefits of that because they backed them in the first place, didn't they? It's really hard to, and that's why contractually they can't get them out. It's really difficult.
When all they did was put money in, and you just look at these people and you think, if only you'd gone and got a loan instead.
But all they did was put the same amount of money into 10, 20 companies, and 19 of them gone bust now.
100%. But from my client's perspective, the fact that the investor is a serial investor that invests in multiple businesses, and this happens to be the one that's successful, that doesn't impact them.
Yeah.
It impacts them because they're the one that is going to work every day. They're the one that's working in the business, growing it, putting in the graft, and a slice of their profits are going every month, every year to the private investor that is just raking the money in.
What they need to do is have the balls to go and be the investor, don't they? But it takes a lot of balls to stick your personal money into 20 companies with which 19 are going to fail. Sorry, I'm playing devil's advocate.
No, you are playing devil's advocate.
That is the investor. That's the reality, isn't it?
It is the reality.
It's tough. I know you see that side of the coin because you see the business owner who wants to get them out and doesn't understand where their value is or why. But that's the balancing side to it, isn't it? So
yeah. And what I don't think you should do as well is, so we had somebody approach my business that wanted to have an equity share in my business because they felt that they had a lot of customers that they could bring my way, and it was essentially like a method of lead generation. And I was just like, why would I not just have a referral scheme? I don't need to give you a share of my business to generate customers. There's so many ways I could generate customers that doesn't involve me giving away a share of my profit.
To a single company, single individual.
Exactly, putting all my eggs in one basket as well.
It's not scalable either, but yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, there are times I've got customers that have equity investors, and there are times that equity investors work really, really well because that equity investor is bringing something that just money can't buy. It's connections, it's door unlocking, it's moving the business to the next level that would take you a lot of time to do yourself. That's when you get an equity investor. Otherwise, my number one piece of advice is don't get an equity investor. Always get debt. And debt's far easier to get than you think. If you've got the right team behind you, if you've got the right connections, if you've got the right finance broker and you've got the right accountant who can paint the right picture for you, then absolutely pretty much every business can get debt.
So in summary, your take is the best run businesses that you see generate their own cash flow to fund their everyday business.
Operating cash flow, yeah. Always
will take debt to scale and only the boldest, most riskiest businesses as a last resort would give away equity.
Yes.
Fantastic. Great. Well, let's move on to this week's Profit Cash Growth Extra. Ding dong, merrily on high, Claire. What am I talking about this week? This week's Profit Cash Growth Extra is...
Festive sandwich time.
Festive sandwiches or festive treats. They're all back, aren't they, in the shops?
It's just a little bit fun this week.
I know.
We were in the Co-op this morning, actually, weren't we? And they even had all their snack range in the meal deal was festive pork pies, festive sausage rolls.
Right, so this has gone wild, just so we're aware, because this is typical of our consumer environment. It's just like gone too far. Like, it used to be every year, it'd be like all the different shops would bring out their festive sandwich, the one festive sandwich, wouldn't they? Like the turkey feast or whatever.
Yeah. Now it's a range.
Now, Sainsbury's had an entire stack end. They had 9 different festive sandwiches. Like, how I can't even come up with 9, but I was looking at them. Like they had the brie and cranberry, and then they had a pigs and blanket sandwich, and then they had a festive this sandwich. Oh my Lord! I mean, it's not just one's fine, but anyway. What are the best, Claire? What's my favourite? You know what my favourite place is.
The Greggs toasted.
Oh, Greggs.
Actually,
Greggs.
Flatbread. Greggs flatbread and the festive
Christmas
bake.
Flatbread. I love the festive bake, and I'm not a fan of the pastries. The only time I eat pastries at Greggs is this time of year when I have the festive bake. Delicious. They've got a festive baguette, which is very nice, but I am a big fan of the festive flatbread because they toast it. It's delicious. Stuffing, cranberry, turkey, everything you want in there.
And we walked into town yesterday, didn't we? And it was a bit late. We got into town about 2:30, which is a bit late for lunch. And we thought we were going to treat ourselves to a festive baguette in Greggs, but they were already sold out. So we were in the town and we were a bit limited on our choices. And I happened to turn around and see in Subway, they did a festive sub. So I was like, right, we go in there. It was
a mistake,
diabolical,
wasn't it? It was a mistake.
Firstly, there was iceberg lettuce in it, which was just weird. But it had more like cranberry. The only way to describe it is cranberry jam. It was so sweet and sickly. So yeah, don't go for a Subway festive sub because that was diabolical. But do let us know what your favourite Christmas lunches and in terms of like what, you know.
What's your favourite festive sandwich? Write into us at marketing@profitcashgrowth.com.
Do let us know because...
Please just send us a 1-line email with where it was and what the sandwich was.
So we can go and get one.
Marketing@profitcashgrowth.com, please, and we'll give you a shout out on the podcast. Anyway, as always, if you feel like you may have outgrown your current accountant, you'd like to work with Claire and the team at Profit Cash Growth, please hit her up on the website.
Festive food.
Or if you'd like to some further accountancy advice on festive sandwiches, please get in touch with Profit Cash Growth. As always, listen back through any of the podcasts, there's many of them, for lots and lots of different deep dives, learning to grow your business, improve your profits and your cash flow. And as always, we'll see you again next week. And don't forget to rate, review and subscribe, and just share this with a friend.